They still whisper about Okori, the fisherman who never returned from the water. Some say the river took him because he broke an ancient covenant. Others say he followed his heart too far downstream. But those who truly knew Okori, those who saw the sadness in his eyes, would tell you that his last journey was not a tragedy. It was destiny. Okori lived in the quiet village of Umuagu, where the river Udele curved like a serpent around farmlands and ancient stones. It was said that the river was alive, not just alive with fish and reeds, but with spirits older than man. The elders called her Nwani Miri, the river woman. They said she watched over the village with both mercy and jealousy. Okori was not just any fisherman. He was known for his patience and kindness, a man whose voice carried peace even in storms. Every morning before the sun rose, he would greet the water with a whisper. Nwani Miri, daughter of the depths, bless my net with mercy, not greed. He fished not for wealth, but to feed his family, his wife Ngozi, and their only son, Obina. They lived humbly in a mud hut by the riverbank. Ngozi would always wait by the fireside for Okori's canoe to appear through the mist, her hands clasped, praying for his safe return. But lately, the fish had stopped coming. For weeks, Okori's nets came up empty, not even a tilapia. The villagers began to murmur that the gods were angry. Some said he had offended the river. Others blamed a strange dream. Ngozi had a dream of a woman rising from the water, calling Okori's name in a voice soft as wind but deep as thunder. That night, as the moon hung pale over Udele, Okori sat by the bank, staring at the reflection of stars trembling on the surface. He whispered, "Why have you turned your face from me, River Mother? Have I not been faithful?" The water rippled once, twice, then grew still again. He did not know that the river was listening. 3 nights later, Okori returned to the river before dawn. The air was cold and the mist was thick enough to hide ghosts. He pushed his small canoe into the water, humming a tune his late father used to sing. O memiri dindu, onye na efe ya eche fukwala isi memiri. The river is alive. Whoever serves her must never forget her head. As his paddle cut through the silence, a strange calm settled over the river. There were no frog calls, no rustling of leaves, only the sound of water moving like breath. He cast his net once. Nothing. He cast it again. Still nothing. On the 3rd throw, the net caught something heavy, so heavy he nearly toppled into the water. He pulled with all his strength, but when he lifted the net, it wasn't fish that shone inside. It was a woman. Her skin glowed like moonlight, her hair floating like strands of darkness. Her eyes, deep and knowing, held the reflection of both the sky and the water. She looked at him calmly, not gasping, not afraid. "Do not fear," she said, her voice like a flute played underwater. "I am Nwani Miri, the spirit you greet each morning. I have watched your kindness, your honesty, your patience, and yet your village mocks you for your poverty." Okori fell to his knees in the canoe, trembling. "I have nothing to give you, Great Mother. I only ask for fish to feed my family." The goddess smiled. "Then listen, there is more to life than fish, Okori. You have fed others, yet your own heart starves. Do you know why the river stopped blessing you?" He shook his head. "Because you began to fish without gratitude. You let fear replace faith. The river gives to those who still believe, not those who complain in silence." Tears filled Okori's eyes. "Teach me to believe again." She touched his forehead, And for a moment he saw visions, floods, laughter, his wife smiling, his son becoming a man. And in that vision, he saw himself old and peaceful. When he opened his eyes, the goddess was gone. In her place, the net was filled not with gold, not with fish, but with 7 silver-scaled tilapia, their eyes bright as stars. Okori bowed deeply, whispering, "Dalu, Nwanyim Miri." He didn't know that this was not a blessing, but a test. When Okori returned home that morning, the whole village gathered. Never had they seen such fish large, shining like mirrors. His wife Ngozi rejoiced. "Chineke emela, God has done it," she cried. "Our luck has returned." But as days went by, strange things began to happen. The more Okori fished, the more the river gave. His baskets overflowed, his hut filled with coins from traders. For the first time he wore fine cloth, and Ngozi's neck shone with coral beads. Soon, whispers began again, this time of jealousy. "Okori has made a covenant with spirits," some said. "He feeds on forbidden water gifts," others murmured. At first, Okori ignored them, but as wealth grew, so did his pride. He no longer whispered to the river before casting his net. He stopped giving to the poor, and when Ngozi reminded him to thank the river, he brushed her off. "Nwanyim Miri is kind," he said. "She knows I deserve this." But that night, he dreamed again. The river goddess stood before him, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Okori," she said, "you have eaten what was not meant for you alone. You were blessed to share, not to boast. Your heart has turned away from gratitude." He woke sweating but ignored the dream. The next morning he went fishing again alone. The river was silent, the mist was darker than usual. He threw his net 3 times, nothing. On the 4th he caught something heavy again. When he pulled, he found a single black fish, still and cold. He laughed bitterly. "So this is your anger, river woman?" But the black fish blinked and spoke. "Your last catch, Okori," it whispered. "Cherish it." Before he could scream, the fish dissolved into water. The canoe began to shake violently. The sky darkened. Waves rose like fists around him. From beneath the water, the goddess's voice echoed. "He who forgets gratitude will be remembered by loss." The villagers said they saw lightning strike the middle of the river that morning. When they went to look, Okori's canoe was floating upside down, empty. For 3 days, no one saw Okori. Men searched the banks of River Udele. Women sang mourning songs. Children gathered around the elders to ask questions their mothers couldn't answer. "Did the river goddess take him?" one boy asked. An elder sighed. "When a man forgets where his blessings came from, the gods remind him where he began." Ngozi wept by the river every evening. She refused food, refused comfort. Her husband's canoe was found floating upside down, but his body was never seen. "Udele," she cried into the waves, "give me back my husband." But the river only replied with ripples and silence. On the 7th night, when the moon was full, Ngozi dreamt of a woman in white rising from the water. Her beauty was otherworldly, her eyes soft but commanding. "Do not cry, Ngozi," said the woman. "Your husband's journey was not for punishment alone. He was chosen to remind men that gratitude feeds the spirit more than wealth. Take this." From her hand, a single pearl-like stone fell into Ngozi's palm, glowing faintly like a trapped moon. "When your son turns 12, said the goddess, bring him to the river with this stone. The river remembers those who remember her." Ngozi woke up with tears on her face and the glowing stone clutched tightly in her hand. She placed it in a small clay pot and hid it beside Okori's fishing net. Years passed. The rains came and went. Life slowly crawled back to the riverbank. Obinna, once a small boy who cried for his father, grew into a strong young man, tall, kind-hearted, and thoughtful like his father. The villagers often said, Okori's spirit walks in that boy. Yet Obinna never went near the river. He feared it. He remembered the night songs, the whispers, the lightning. But on his 12th birthday, Ngozi called him to the hut. "My son," she said softly, "it is time you meet your father." He frowned. "But Mama, Papa is gone." She nodded. "Gone, yes, but not lost." She brought out the small clay pot and opened it. Inside lay the glowing stone, still as bright as the night it was given. "This came from the river goddess," Ngozi whispered. "Your father was taken by her. She said to return this when you turned 12. Fear and curiosity wrestled in Obinna's eyes, but when he looked at the stone he felt warmth instead of fear. It pulsed softly in his hand like a living heart. That evening, as the sun melted behind the hills, Ngozi and Obinna walked to River Udele. The air was calm and birds circled silently above. Obinna knelt at the water's edge. "If you are truly the goddess my mother spoke of," he said, "show me my father." The river shimmered, then stilled. From its surface rose mist, thick as smoke, and within it a shape, a man's outline, strong, familiar. It was Okori, smiling gently. "Father," Obinna whispered. "Yes, my son," the figure said, voice like wind over water. "The river gave me peace, and in that peace, I have seen truth. The world of men forgets too easily where blessings come from. Never let pride blind your gratitude." He stretched out a hand. "This river owes you a debt. Cast the stone into her, and you will understand." Obinna threw the glowing pearl into the water. It sank, and instantly the river began to sparkle. Fish leapt from the surface, dozens of them, shimmering silver and blue. The villagers who had gathered from afar gasped. From that day, River Udele flowed clearer, purer, and fuller than anyone remembered. Fish returned. The river no longer took, it gave. Okori's image faded slowly into the mist. "Tell them," he said, "that gratitude is the strongest net a man can cast." Many years later, Obinna became the most respected fisherman in all of Umwagu, not because of how much he caught, but because of how much he shared. Every morning, before casting his net, he would kneel by the riverbank and whisper, "Nwanyi Mmeri, Mother of the waters, bless this net with mercy, not greed." And each evening before returning home, he would pour a libation of water back into the river, saying, "Take, for you gave." People came from neighboring villages to learn from him. Even the elders said, "Okori's blood has brought balance back to Udele." When Obinna married and had children of his own, he taught them the same words. He told them stories of a humble fisherman, a powerful goddess, and a single blackfish that ended one life to begin another. Ngozi lived long enough to see her son become a man of honor. On her last night, she sat by the river, smiled and whispered, "He remembered." The next morning, they found her sleeping peacefully by the water's edge, her hand touching the ripples. In every generation, someone from Umwagu stands by River Udele and casts a net with the old fisherman's prayer. The villagers say the water still shines silver at dawn, a sign that a Corey's spirit still watches. And so the story of the fisherman's last catch became a lesson for every heart. Moral of the story: gratitude keeps blessings alive. Pride dries the river of fortune. Give thanks for the little you have, and the river of life will never run dry.